talked about the median, which is where half of the values are less, half are greater, and the mean, which is where we add up all the values and divide by the number. Now we're going to talk about another set of statistics which measure the spread. So I've got my middle, so how far apart are those data points? So how far apart are the values in the data set? And we might think, well, typically, what's going on? So we're going to talk about two common measurements of spread, two statistics. The first statistic, and recall a statistic is a calculation from data. The first statistic is called the IQR, or the inner quartile range. And what the interquartile range measures is how far apart is the middle half of the data points. So let's see, the IQR is the range of the middle 50% of the data. All right, so how do we calculate that? And with the median, the first quartile, the median, and the third quartile, which have the symbols Q1 and Q3, those are the quartiles. All right, they divide the data up into about a fourth of the counts. So, we figured out last time, we said, okay, there was 20 values, and the median we said was between the 10th, so here's the 10th value, and the 11th value. So it's halfway between there. So the median was 83.5. So now what we're going to do to break this up into fourths, that broke that data up into halves, the first 10 and the last 10. So now what we're going to do is we're going to split these first 10 into two groups of 5. So I'm going to have 5 here, 5 there. And so the way you calculate the first quartile is you take the median of the data to the left of the median. All right. So there are 10 values that are less than the median. So that's one right here. There are 10 observations to the left of the median and also to the right of the median. And then if I calculate the median of those 10 observations, then I would add 1 to that and divide by 2. And that tells me the position of the median. So that's 11 over 2. That is 5.5. So 5.5, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is the 5th observation. Here's the 6th observation. So the first quartile is going to be halfway between the 5th and the 6th observation. So that is going to be 74, or I could add it. I could calculate this. It's the 5th plus the 6th over 2, which is 74,000 miles. The third quartile is the median of the last 10. All right. So the same thing. I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is the 5th and 6th observation of the last 10. So halfway between 102 and 107 is the third quartile. So this is going to be 102 plus 107 over 2. Which this is going to be 209 over 2. So this is 104.5 thousand miles. The IQR is the distance between the first quartile and the third quartile. So this is Q3 minus Q1, and that equals 104.5 minus 74, and that equals 30.9. 0.5 thousand miles. So there is my measure of spread. So let's talk about the interpretation of these quartiles. The first quartile, the median happens to be the second quartile. So we don't call it the second quartile, we call it the median. And then we have the third. These split the data into fourths. All right. So here's the minimum, and here's the maximum. And then I've got my first quartile and my third quartile, and my median is between here and here. All right. So a fourth of the cars are going to be in between each of those groups. So we've got a fourth of the cars are between the minimum and the first quartile, which is 47 to 74,000 miles. All right. So there were 20 cars, so I'm going to have 5 cars between 47 and 74,000 miles. And then I'm also going to have a fourth of the count between Q1 and the median. So that's between 74,000 miles. And the median we said was 83.5. And then I have a fourth of the cars, which is again 20 over 4 is 5, between the median and the third quartile. It'll be between 83.5 and 104.5 thousand miles. And then the last fourth of the observations are between the Q3, third quartile, and the maximum. So that's 104.5 thousand miles to the maximum, which is 180. So I've got a fourth in between each one of those groups. So if I look at the middle half, that's going to be these values right here. So the middle half of the data is going to be between Q1 and Q3. So that's going to be between 74,000 miles, which is Q1, and 104.5, which is Q3. And the range of that is just the distance from here to here. So the mileages in the middle half of the data, these are all within this total distance between each other. So this is all within this IQR, which we measured, this minus this was 30.5 thousand miles of each other. So all of those cars that are in the middle are within 30.5 miles of each other.